I had an admiral tell my ship when we were in the Middle East, 1994, oh, you boys want to know why we're here? We're here just here for oil. $12 billion set aside to rebuild Iraq. The man that the George W. Bush administration put in charge of that $12 billion reconstruction budget was the retired admiral that told me back a decade earlier when I was in the Gulf that we were there for oil.
Hey, it's Jordon. I am in Flint, Michigan, East Palestine, Ohio, Tumwa, Iowa. Please support the only independent outlet on the ground covering what the corporate media covers up. We got a status quo viewer in the crowd here. Tell me, I was just telling people I see more resistance and fight from the people out here than I do the entire Democratic Party.
Yes.
Talk to me about where is the opposition, really?
Well, I think the Democratic Party is useless, personally. I voted green this election.
So did I.
I appreciate that also. I mean, honestly, I'm what they call Gen X, right? I was born in 1971. And I enlisted in the military after high school. But I quickly, after traveling around the world and stuff, I realized sort of U.S. imperialism was not cool. Like, I had an admiral tell my ship when we were in the Middle East, 1994, oh, you boys want to know why we're here? We're here just here for oil. And but I remember when...
I just want to stop for a second.
Yeah.
Let that sink in. His admiral basically gave the game away. Hey, you guys... You're actually here to steal other people's oil. Anyway, go ahead.
But when I was first in the military, I joined a Christian kind of cult, and I was very much like Jesus. Jesus wouldn't want to be, bombing people, right? So I actually didn't want to be in the military anymore. But I was sort of stuck there. But they used to market us before they called us Generation X. They were calling us the MTV generation, and they were encouraging us to vote for Bill Clinton. And it was called Rock the Vote. It was the Rock the Vote campaign. And he was signaling a lot that he wanted to end the conflicts in the Middle East, Bill Clinton says. And his phrase was, we want to decrease military spending, right? So I voted for Clinton, I'm pretty sure. I might have voted for Ross Perot in that election. I forget, but I was all on aboard like, okay, Bill Clinton's going to kind of get us out of this mess in the Middle East. One of the first things he did in 1993 is he bombed the fuck out of Iraq. And I did a deployment to the Arabian Gulf in 92 and 93. But when I saw Bill Clinton was like full of shit, that's kind of when the Democratic Party lost its appeal to me.
I think a lot of Democrats who have been, loyal Democrats for a long time, a lot of them are opening their eyes that actually both parties are corrupt. I mean, this form of corruption is more on steroids, Elon Musk, Trump. But I think a lot of people are realizing the corruption was always here. It was just more subtle and more behind the scenes. Democrats taking corporate money from defense contractors, big pharma, Wall Street. Now it's just Trump's not even trying to hide it. Musk's not trying to hide it.
Yeah, and they're celebrating it. And, I voted for Bernie Sanders in 2016 in the primaries, and that was the first time in a long time I got excited about someone. And then I felt like the Democratic Party threw him under the bus. They made Hillary the nominee. And then in 2020, they threw Bernie under the bus again. I actually voted for Trump in 2020 because I was so pissed at the Democratic Party. And then when January 6th happened, I said, okay, I'm done with Trump too. And then I voted for Jill Stein this election. So I don't know. I'm not the most informed person, but and I'm learning about this. Like a lot of these guys like J.D. Vance are fans of like Curtis Yarvin, and who's basically saying, oh yeah, fuck democracy. We need a dictatorship, basically a monarchy. And that's scary.
The ironic and very sad thing, and a lot of MAGA voters might not know this. Trump and Vance, they like to fashion themselves as populists and anti-establishment. But the only reason Vance is even in office is because of a guy named Peter Thiel, who's a tech oligarch who put in $15 million to his Senate campaign. Trump got $270 million from Elon Musk, and what do you know? He's handed Elon Musk the keys to the government. So whether it's Democrats, Republicans, they are all taking money from big tech or big pharma or the military-industrial complex. The only difference now is Trump. He's kind of just dropped the veil. He's dropped the curtain. And hey, this is what it is. I mean, Trump is charging donors $5 million to have dinner with him at Mar-a-Lago. And MAGA, I guess they don't care about that corruption. I'm pretty sure if Biden or Obama had Bill Gates run a Department of Government Efficiency, Fox News would be going nuts. But Republicans are pretty quiet about it right now.
You know, the no-bid contracts that Musk is getting is an example of this corruption. I remember back when the George W. Bush, when he took down Saddam Hussein's government, right, and they had $12 billion set aside to rebuild Iraq, and they were giving away no-bid contracts to like Halliburton and Enron and those kind of companies. Well, the man that the George W. Bush administration put in charge of that $12 billion reconstruction budget was the retired admiral that told me back a decade earlier when I was in the Gulf that we were there for oil. It's the same kind of game, but it's just...
What are your thoughts on they're laying off, it seems, thousands and thousands of veterans at the Veterans Administration, other departments? I didn't even know 30% of government workers are veterans. I thought Republicans, love the flag and we're the party of the veterans. Well, they're gutting, they're firing government workers that are veterans.
Yeah, that's, in my opinion, I don't expect any kind of special treatment if I'm a veteran or whatever, but it seems like part of the New Deal that FDR did, right, is using the government to get people working, right? Let's build bridges, let's build dams. We could use big projects to hire people, but there's a conflict of interest between that mindset and what the trend is let's eliminate workers with AI and automation, just eliminate workers in general. Corporations want to eliminate workers, and yet the politicians always talk about creating jobs. There's no incentive for corporate America to create jobs. It's like they look at it as like a necessary evil.
Well, I actually think, in my opinion, what Musk is doing, they're using AI to lay off workers. They're using AI to compile a list of workers to cut.
Just like United Health did to deny claims.
And United Healthcare used AI to deny claims. There was a 90% error rate. Let me repeat, a 90% error rate. Whatever you think of Luigi Mangione, this was part of his opposition to what they were doing. I feel like this is a test run. They're using AI on the government before they start accelerating it in the normal economy to lay off workers.
It's just going to create a whole lot of more jobless people. Like I think that universal basic income is one possible solution. I read a book one time. I picked up a book. It was MLK. He wrote a book. It was based on his speeches called "Where Do We Go From Here? Chaos and Community," and he proposed a universal basic income. But it wasn't just in order to deal with the inequality getting out of hand. He said we gotta tie the bottom of the universal basic income to whatever the mean income is of the society. That way, if the oligarchs get super rich, they'll still pull up the baseline of the universal income. And I like that idea. I don't know if it'll work or not, but
my last question. If the Democratic Party is going to continue to have its head up his ass, if the Democratic Party is going to basically respond to a blazing house fire, bringing a super soaker, should more people start talking about maybe now is the time to really build a third party?
Yeah, I think so. There was some buzz a year or so ago about the People's Party. That was one. I think that fizzled out. I voted for Green Party. They don't seem to get much attraction. But, yeah, I've been for a long time, for decades, I've been, looking for another kind of party or just have somebody who's an independent, do really good. I think Bernie Sanders identified as an independent for a lot of his campaigns, even though he was still part of the Democratic Party. I think in his own state he ran as an independent.
Bernie Sanders, even though the Democratic Party fucked him 2 times, he's right now going around the country.
Yeah, he's hot.
83 years old.
I like what he has to say. Yeah.
Thanks, Ben. Appreciate it. Absolutely.